Hey guys, welcome to Chef Evolution. I'm Chef NCP and today we're going to be cooking the pan-fried flatfish with crushed new potatoes, roasted fennel and creamed spring greens. I'm going to be composing this video today in 3 sections, starting off with the prep, followed by the cooking and finishing off with the serving suggestion. Let's get started. So today guys, I'm going to start off with the fish. Today you've got seasonal place. You could end up with lemon sole, Devon sole. It's hugely dependent on what comes off the boat. So we'll start off with this just by seasoning both sides of the fish. Flatfish is a bottom feeder, so the top side typically has a different colour to the bottom side. Just a nice bit of salt and pepper. Okay, and I'm just going to leave that to one side and wash my hands. Next, onto the spring greens. Just peel off the leaves if you've still got the stalk, and then start by cutting the main central vein out. Don't worry if it tears, we're going to roll it up and slice it anyway. So that thick main central vein, it's quite tough, it takes a long time to cook. Put it in your stock pot if you're into making stocks. And then we're going to layer them on top of each other. And roll them sideways into a cigar shape. I'm sure you've all seen it all before. I don't know if you're aware of the name of the technique, but it's called a chiffonade. Just slice that roll in half, put one half to one side, trim the edge off, and begin to slice as thin as possible. That speeds up the cooking process. See, until you have nice thin ribbons of spring greens. Just pour that into your colander over a saucepan. We're going to pour boiling hot water over that, capturing the water, and use that water to boil on your potatoes. 2 birds, 1 stone. And repeat again for the other half. The reason I chopped it in half, it just makes it a little bit easier. You don't have to, if you don't want to. And that's it for the spring greens. Take your boiled water and just pour boiling water over your spring greens. And that's going to help wilt. Ready for creamed spring greens. Just give that a little shake. Put to one side. We're left with our water, big pinch of salt, and in with our potatoes and on to cook. Next, we're over onto our fennel ball. I'm just a half recipe today, guys. Just for cost effectiveness, I don't need 2 portions. Just top and tail it. Take as thin as possible of the core. That's going to help hold our leaves together. Cut your bulb in quarter, like so. Don't worry if a little bit comes off, it's fine. And then keeping this core, I just want some nice 2mm thin slices. There, like that. And the core is going to hold that together, and obviously those slices are going to help the roasting and speed up the cook. Place that on a parchment paper lined baking tray. Repeat, obviously keeping the core away from you. And again, onto the baking tray. I'm just going to take a nice pinch of salt and pepper and a nice drizzle of oil. Just use the excess salt and pepper to season the underside of the fennel and go into a preheated oven at 190 degrees, and then onto our diced shallot. Nice thin dices. Chop off that top, don't need that. This shallot's quite thin, I'm just going to go straight in for the dice. And the same for your garlic clove. I just need half. Garlic cooks faster than onions, guys, so just a little bit thicker dices. I'm going to cook them together. If you want to dice them to the same size as your shallot, feel free to do so. Just cook the shallots before the garlic. And there we have it, guys. On to the cooking. So I've got my new potatoes on a rolling boil now. They've been on for about 5 minutes. We want to cook them for about 15 to 20 minutes so they're nice and fluffy on the insides. My oven's preheated, ready to roll, 190 degrees centigrade. They're going to go in for about 8 to 10 minutes. We'll come back to the new potatoes when they're cooked, strain them off in a colander and leave them to one side to cool to the touch. And I can show you how to crush those, and then we'll move on to the fish and the cream spring greens. So my new potatoes have been on for about 20 minutes now, 15-20 minutes. Just going to strain those off into a colander and leave them to chill to one side so that I can crush them in my fingertips. So in the same pot, just going to add a knob of butter to melt. Make sure your temperature's down because you don't want to burn the butter to start with. And just go in with my shallots and garlic. Just going to leave those on the heat for a few seconds, just keeping an eye on them, and we'll start on our fish. If you've got an electric hob, you make sure you have turned down your temperature because hob cooling times take a bit longer, in which case just take it off the heat when it's ready. We'll come back to that in a second. Next we've got the oil in our frying pan. Just bring that up to a super hot heat. We'll go in with our fish and then turn the heat down so that the skin doesn't burn. Just going to add a little bit of oil. That's going to stop the butter from burning. And I'm just going to stir that together with a little pinch of salt. Just stir that together because the garlic, if it's too hot, can have a tendency to burn. I'm happy with the amount of fluid in there to prevent that. Just give it a little shake. We're going to go in with our spring greens. They might have a little bit of water left on there, so they might crackle. Just stir that together, guys. And let the spring greens wilt even further. Nice, glossy, buttery spring greens. Just leave that on a low heat. Let them do their thing. Keep an eye on them. Make sure they don't catch. And our oil should be pretty hot now, guys. Swirl your oil around the pan. Fish slice at the ready. I'd advise a bigger pan than me, guys. Just go thick side and layer down. Apply a little bit of pressure. That'll prevent the fish from curling. It's a bit more difficult to distinguish the top and the bottom of the underside of the fish. Typically, the more moist side would be the side without the skin. So just go in, skin side down, turn the temperature down straight away. Be cool. Let it do its thing. Take it off the heat if you need to. Don't burn that skin. The fish is the star of the show. That's the timer for my roasted fennel, guys. So I'm just going to have a little check on those. Smell is beautiful. I'm going to leave them in there with the heat. Turn your oven down so that they don't overcook. And I'll show you those when they're ready. Go back to your spring greens. Lovely and wilted. And go in with your cream. Put that back onto a low heat just to infuse. That cream should go a lovely green colour. Just going to check the skin. It's perfect. Back onto the heat. Be aware, make sure it's not on a super high heat for your skin to burn. If you're on gas, a medium high heat is perfect. If you're on electric, turn it down, then turn it back up. And all I'm looking for is the white to follow from the pan into the middle of the fish. When I'm 3/4 cooked, you can see we're up halfway now. When it's 3/4 cooked, I'm going to turn the fish over and let the residual heat of the pan cook the fish fully and leave to one side. Beautiful fillets of flakes. Be nice and gentle with your fish. Don't panic, be cool. Let them do their thing. Spring greens coming along nicely. Just up the heat ever so slightly. Just gonna let that cream bubble away and emulsify with the butter. You should have a thin strip in the middle of the fish fillets. Just turn them over. They're ready. And take off the heat. Leave them in there for about 30 seconds. And on to a cool plate to rest. Typically for half the cooking time. Spring greens. Perfect. Roasted fennel. Beautiful. The slices in the preparation to this fennel has helped beautifully cook all the way through until your cores are nice and tender. Creamed spring greens. Your new potatoes should be ready to crush. Just crush them into that colander. They're still really hot, guys, so be really careful. Don't burn yourself. Back into the pan with the oil. Pinch salt and pepper. Just get a nice gold colour on them. Start off with a really high heat. Make sure it's super hot. Your potatoes are cooked already. You just want that colour. Make sure it's nice and even in the pan. Check out that beautiful skin. Nice, crisp, beautiful skin. See the colour coming on? I'm going to go in with a small knob of butter. And the other half, my chopped garlic. Smells now buttery garlic. Just let those colours come through. The spring greens have been left to rest on a really low heat, and the cream is fully absorbed into our spring greens. Beautiful colour in the potatoes now, guys. That's what we're looking for. Take them off the heat, put to one side, and that's it. On to the serving suggestion. Start off with your crispy pan-fried fillets of plaice, flatfish, slightly off centre. New potatoes on, the more the merrier. I'm going to take half of the spring greens, like so. Finish off my lovely roasted, like so. Beautiful pan-fried flatfish. And there you have it, guys. Chef Aleutian's pan-fried flatfish with crushed new potatoes, roasted fennel and creamed spring greens. Yes, chef.